Alright folks, Chris here, Porting Solutions. I'm trying to do a little narration of what I'm doing as the video's playing here, so forgive me if this is terrible. It's my first time trying it, but anyway, here we go. This is a 4G63 second gen cylinder head that's being ported. The burr that I initially start out with that you see here, 5/8 high helix burr, and use that to pretty much remove all, not all, but the heavier material. So I'm trying to remove the most amount of material as quickly as possible with this burr. And it also, the bigger burr makes it a lot easier to keep the shape of the port nice and symmetrical. So what I'm doing now here is basically just shaping up the port. On these, there's no need to really make the gasket any bigger. It's more just trying to get this midsection, the pinch point on the runner, to the correct size. So here I am sizing it up. There is a lot to remove from there, so you'll see me going back and forth. And I actually tackle the left side a little bit more than the right side because of core shift. So I probably did a pretty bad job showing the core shift on this cylinder head, but it does tend to favor more one way, so there is more meat on the left side of the cylinder head by the time it gets to the valve seat, if that makes any sense. So there you saw me measuring the dividers. It's more to get a measurement on them. I'm not trying to get my final measurement because I'm still a little bit away from that. It's more to just make sure that I'm removing the same amount of material on both sides of the divider, keeping them nice and even. There you saw me mark the cylinder head, and that's the pinch point. As far as the width, that's where the tightest point of the width is of it. So I mark it there so I can measure the height, because that is the pinch point. That should be the tightest point of the cylinder head, aside from the throat area, before it exits into the chamber. So I want to get that measurement, the pinch point of the overall runner, to a certain length. And you see me here, I believe I've already switched burrs to something a little bit finer. This way I can creep up on the measurement that I want. That 5/8 high helix tends to remove a lot of material fast, so I don't want to overshoot it. And by switching to a different burr, I can a little bit more finely tune how much material I'm taking away. So this one's a 1/2 inch burr. I have a 1/2 inch fast cut that I was using before this. What I'm using here now is a 1/2 inch fine cut. It's a fine finish. I've already got the measurement I want. So what I'm using here is actually a deburr tool, but the deburr tool leaves a really smooth finish. So when I go back and polish the cylinder head, it makes it that much easier. Here I'm just fine-tuning the divider and making sure everything's nice and symmetrical. That deburr tool, what's nice about it too is that it kind of will expose any high or low spots in the cylinder head you can go back and fix. Here I'm just getting a final measurement, making sure we didn't open it up too much. Now, I didn't do too many height measurements, so from the floor to the roof, because I know there's still a lot of material I got to remove from the floor, like you see here. So here I will be doing more of the height measurements now that I've gotten the floor more or less to where I want it. Here I'm fixing the corner radius of the port, measuring the height, measuring the area of the short radius there. I don't use the 5/8 on this, just because the floor I like to creep up on. It can, on this head not so much, but on other heads usually there's water underneath it, so I am very careful with what I remove from the floor. It ends up, I end up spending more time with the 1/2 inch burr getting there, but that's fine as long as I don't overshoot my target and I don't ruin the cylinder head in the process. That works good for me. Deburr tool, just making it nice smooth. That was me thinking that I was holding the camera there long enough so you can see the port. Same thing here with the bowl. I'm attempting to show you guys the core shift in the bowl there, but the video goes way too fast, and I didn't have a way to slow that down. I'm not that good at this whole editing thing. So here I'm shaping the bowl and the throat of the cylinder head, probably the most crucial area as far as making horsepower. You'll see a little area just underneath the valve seat there that doesn't get touched. There's really nothing you can do about that. You can't really add epoxy because it won't stick or stay there. And if you open it to try and remove that, you actually just hurt the performance of the cylinder head, and the bowl and the throat's a pretty crucial area. On these cylinder heads, it's not like your small block Chevy, small block Ford where you want to shoot for 90%, 91, 92% on the throat. These valves are smaller, so this is a 34 millimeter valve. It's not exactly a 2-inch intake valve. So on a 2-inch intake valve, when you're trying to shoot for 90, 91% on the throat, you know, you get 200 thou margin to play with. This is, you know, 34 millimeter valve. You get 1.3, it's 1.3 of an inch or 1.35 of an inch, which, you know, turns out to 135 thou. Not a lot to play with as far as valve margin. So leaving it at about 88.5% kind of gives enough valve margin to let the angles of the valve job actually do its job and help the air turn and work. So 90% might sound cool and all, but believe it or not, just on dual overhead cam stuff, it doesn't really flow that well, mostly because it ruins the valve margin. Which I can get into depth deeper on later, but for right now we're just explaining this DSM head. And here I am polishing. Start out with 60 grit, then I'll go to 80 grit and finish with 120 and a cross buff ball. This brown one you see here is the 80 grit. And a bit overkill, honestly, for intake stuff, but you know, I'm shooting a video. I'm trying to make it look nice for the videos and the views and the clicks and all that stuff. Being just flat out honest, you know. 120 plus a cross buff on the intake side is just kind of overkill and doesn't really, it's not a performance enhancer. It is a looks enhancer. Anyway, I hope you guys liked the video. That is the final product of it. The polishing of the floor is not there, but you get the idea.